Super Microcomputer, ticker SMCI, is one of those companies that looks like a scrappy, hyper-focused server maker, until you zoom out and realize it's playing a much bigger game: dense data center gear, custom systems for AI, and the fine art of scaling hardware when everyone wants compute yesterday. The headline numbers: short, sharp, and useful. On Friday, SMCI opened, and in some reports closed, around $51.96 per share. That's the market's most immediate shorthand for how investors are valuing the company on that particular trading day. Market cap: about $30.88 billion. That's the market's tally of the company's value, shares outstanding times price, and the quick way analysts decide if Supermicro is small, mid, or large in the server/tech world. Valuation and volatility: a P/E near the low 30s, user cited 31.30. Many data providers report similar figures in the high 20s to low 30s depending on which EPS window they use. The company's PEG and beta give extra flavor. PEG of 1.3, user number, signals the market is pricing growth into the stock but not wildly so, and a beta of 1.55 tells you SMCI's price tends to be more volatile than the broader market: higher highs, lower lows. Different providers may show minor variations. Why those matter: P/E tells you how much investors are paying for current earnings, PEG adjusts that for growth expectations, beta tells you how jumpy the stock will be when the market sighs, sneezes, or celebrates. Balance sheet: quick read: debt, leverage, and whether the company's leaning on the bank. The debt-to-equity ratio around 0.74 to 0.76 means Supermicro has some debt, but it's not laden with leverage. In plain language, the company borrows, but not recklessly, at least by this metric. Leverage isn't good or bad in the abstract, it's a tool. If revenue growth covers interest and funds expansion, leverage helps. If sales stall, leverage bites. Net margin and return on equity matter here too. Covered below, combined with modest leverage, they tell whether the business is converting sales into shareholder value efficiently. Recent quarter: revenue, EPS, and profitability. Did the engines hum or cough? According to Supermicro's filings and public reporting for the latest quarter, revenue was reported around $5.76 billion. That represented year-over-year growth of roughly 8 to 8.5% depending on the exact quarter and revenue window used by different outlets. At the same time, reported GAAP/non-GAAP EPS numbers can vary by presentation. Some quarterly non-GAAP figures published around the same releases showed 41 cents non-GAAP EPS for the quarter in fiscal Q4 2025, while simpler trailing measures and smaller scope EPS snapshots, or different adjustments, can yield smaller per share figures. The key takeaway: revenue growth is continuing, albeit at a more modest pace than the red-hot years of earlier cycles. By the way, if you are benefiting from the content so far and want more like this, like the video, it means much to me, or hit the subscribe button and comment the word more. Just go ahead and type the word more so I know. Now that you have commented, let's continue. Net margin for the period sat around 4.77%. That's thin compared with software firms but not unusual in lower-margin hardware/solutions providers, especially those investing heavily in R&D, logistics, and scaling production. A return on equity, ROE, near 17.14% is a decent signal that the company is generating solid returns on shareholder capital. Put together, revenue growth plus modest margins plus healthy ROE equals a business that can scale, but with tight per-dollar profitability that must improve to satisfy long-term equity holders. Think of Supermicro as a powerful but hungry race car. The engine, revenue, is strong, but the fuel efficiency, profit margin, needs tuning if you want to win a long, expensive race. Why revenue of $5.76 billion matters: scale, not just streaks. $5.76 billion, whether reported as quarterly or trailing, signals scale. Supermicro isn't a boutique server maker anymore, it's a material supplier to cloud, enterprise, and telco infrastructure deployments. That scale matters because volume gives negotiating leverage on component pricing, memory, NICs, boards. Scale attracts larger partnerships, OEM/ODM deals, hyperscaler certifications. Recurring systems business, racks, integrated solutions, tends to generate steadier revenue than one-off box sales. Imagine a pizzeria that used to sell 100 pies a week and now sells 5,000. Suddenly they're not just a neighborhood option, they're a supplier to stadiums. The same leap applies to capacity and visibility. Net margin and ROE explained, why a small margin doesn't mean bad. A 4 to 5% net margin in hardware can be fine if the firm converts that into strong cash flow and reinvests wisely. ROE of 17% is actually a nice headline. It shows management is earning returns on equity capital well above many capital-intensive peers. The point, thin margins need to be judged alongside returns. If management can reinvest at 17% ROE repeatedly, shareholders win over time. But hardware companies often face cyclical pressures, demand swings, component shortages, that compress margins, so watching margin trends matters more than the single snapshot. The SEC disclosure shows Rialta Investment Advisors bought 6,960 shares of SMCI in Q2, a purchase flagged in filings and reported by Data Services. That's roughly a few $100,000 at the $50 to $60 price range, meaningful for the advisor's reported position, but tiny relative to Supermicro's $30B market cap. So how could such a modest buy soar SMCI? It probably wouldn't, not by itself. But the market reads these small buys in context, and there are a few ways it can matter. Signaling effect, small institutional buys, when aggregated across funds, suggest professional interest. If multiple small funds nibble in the same quarter, algorithms and other managers may interpret that as the beginning of a trend. It's like seeing several food trucks show up at the same corner. Suddenly investors wonder if a festival is starting. Footnote to conviction, for smaller or newer funds, even modest positions indicate due diligence. If Rialta, which files with the SEC and is monitored, publicly registers the stake, other discretionary managers may check why. All these could compound over time to hit Smci to $1,200 in coming years. Note this as well. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, "Who then can be saved?" But Jesus beheld them, and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And every one that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Matthew 19:25-30. Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. Revelation 14 verse 7. I appeal to you to fear God and obey his law. For his commandments are sure and his word everlasting. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Want more information? Please check the description section. That's the end for now. If you have watched until the end, drop a comment like this, I stayed until the end. Just comment that I stayed until the end. When I see this comment, I will give you a heart. 3 more favors I request from you. First, like this video, subscribe and then turn on the notifications bell. If you do this, you greatly encourage me to continue bringing to you insightful information. Do not miss out on our future videos full of insight. All I am asking is your subscription. Thanks for joining us today. Your support means so much to us. Do not hesitate to share this video to help someone who may benefit. I recommend that you watch the next video, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about today's video. Wish you God's blessings and care. Wait, watch and pray. See you in the next video according to God's will.